I am really excited about this session today for two reasons. Firstly, I borrowed this sweet pad from a buddy of mine. And secondly, I'm going to be sitting down with a seasoned C-suite executive that has rolled out loyalty programs and customer engagement strategies at the likes of EA Games, Eastern Airlines, and Hilton Hotels. But first, I need to give you a little bit of context. Some people say that brand-to-consumer relationships have gotten a little icy lately. Recently, we've seen things like consumers reacting against the abuse of their data by ad tech and the stop-for-profit movement criticizing brands for advertising on platforms that have done little to limit the spread of harmful content. Also, have brands picked up too many dirty habits when dealing with consumer data? Do we need to clean up our act in that department? Did we miss the rise of the ethical consumer and what that means for our brand's reputation? The 2021 Digital Consumer Trend Index report by eConsultancy showed that 2/3 of consumers think retargeting ads derived from cookie tracking is creepy, not cool. In fact, many of the marketing tactics we have been using are probably muddying our relationships with consumers rather than strengthening them. In the same report, 72% of consumers said that getting adverts from companies they don't know was creepy. 66% said that adverts that have followed them across devices were also off-putting. And a whopping 77% of consumers, when asked, said that they look positively at brands pulling adverts from Facebook. So today, I have a very special guest. And I'm going to ask him, is the brand-to-consumer relationship ripe for reinvention? And the consumer data would say so. In fact, 79% of US consumers would rather that brands spent less time advertising to them on Facebook and more time investing in loyalty programs to reward them for their business. Which is why I am thrilled to be talking to Mike Ribero, CEO of Reach. Hi, Mike!
Hey, how are you?
Good!
What's that?
Oh, I forgot my clubs.
Oh, give me that. Watch and learn.
All right.
Let's do this.
Welcome back to another Thinking Cap Spotlight, where we really distill a long-form piece of content into a very quick bite size. And I'm here today with Richard Jones, our CMO, who, Rich, you interviewed Mike Ribero, who I think is a living legend in loyalty, in this tiny little bungalow on a hill in Palo Alto. So, he's kind of a big deal, though, in loyalty, right?
Yeah, like he's a literal walking history book on loyalty, having worked his entire career and setting these programs up from Eastern and Continental Airlines to Hilton Honors, you name it. He knows the industry inside out. And he thinks it's basically high time that there is a reinvention in the way that brands build relationships with consumers.
Well, let's roll clip here and see what Mike had to say.
Now, obviously, you're now CEO of Reach, which is doing some really interesting things in the loyalty space. We'll come on to that a little bit later. But what I wanted to ask you was, why do you think the relationship between brands and consumers is actually ripe for reinvention?
Well, it's a combination of factors. I think it starts with the fact that we've enjoyed 12 years of robust economic growth after the recession in 2008. And frankly, I think marketers got a little bit complacent and they got enamored with MarTech. And if you think about it now, there is so much technology that sits between the consumer and the brand that personal connection, which, by the way, loyalty programs were intended to
facilitate
and build, have been forsaken to a certain extent. And so when you look at the research today, the thing that consumers want most from their brands is human contact. The last thing they want is to talk to another automated attendant. And so that, combined with now privacy and consumers becoming aware of the fact that permission-based marketing was thrown out the window with the dawn of the digital age. Brands are using their data unbeknownst to them in many cases, and how that data is being used is unbeknownst to them. And then you combine the third factor, which is the wild card, COVID, and the fact that we are operating under a new normal right now where nobody really knows how things are going to settle out. If you want to succeed in today's environment, you have to get closer to your customer. And the only way you can do that is by reconnecting with them in a much more personal way.
You've got a long career in the way loyalty programs have operated. What do you think has been the missed opportunities in the way loyalty has traditionally been run?
The analogy I like to make is when you think about loyalty, starting with the American Airlines Advantage program, modern day loyalty, let's call it, in the mid 80s, and it really getting popular in the late 80s, let's call it. And you look at what a mobile phone looked like back then and a television. And you look at what those things look like today versus a loyalty program, massive changes with phones and TVs, not much with loyalty programs. Loyalty programs are still basically unchanged, other than the fact that the currency is devalued every single year, which is why, unfortunately, if you look across industry, according to Bond and other research, loyalty program member satisfaction is under 50% across the board. There's not a single category that has loyalty program member satisfaction over 50%. And when you look at the millennial, which is the audience that every brand wants today and few understand, it's under 40%. So something has to change. And I think it really starts with rethinking the relationship between the customer and the brand.
I've heard you talk before about the Edelman's Trust Index. Are we seeing a sort of broader erosion of trust between brand and consumer, outside of loyalty programs, but just in general?
Well, we've seen it for the last 20 years.
Right.
Loyalty has been in decline pretty steadily for 20 years. As the brand has gotten further and further away from the customer. I've always wondered, how can you really do personalization well when you don't have a personal relationship with the customer? Personalization starts with the word personal. And so it really comes down to a very simple question that we ask brands. And that is, why would you build a platform and a strategy around simply incentivizing and rewarding purchases when there's so much more a consumer can do today, a customer can do today, that can add value to your brand? With today's technology, there's so much a customer can do, writing reviews, referring friends and family, becoming an advocate or even an influencer on social media. All of that can be harnessed, but it has to start from a really solid foundation.
We do a digital trends consumer index every year, and we track the answers from year on year. And actually what we're seeing is that loyalty programs and the kind of things that consumers will engage with, it is shifting from wanting just, points for purchases to actually embracing a whole variety of different things. So that sense of belonging, my connection with the brand, the social capital I'll get by sharing something, joined with the purpose that brand has, the rise of the ethical consumer. And so we are seeing a real big shift away from points per purchases to more experiential, more sense of belonging. How do you think brands that may have been more focused on transactional relationships, how do they embrace this change in consumer attitudes?
All it takes is will, but unfortunately, it also takes technology. And unfortunately, a lot of the legacy loyalty programs out there don't really lend themselves or don't have the flexibility to provide that kind of connection, especially on the soft or the emotional side.
And Tim, there was so much great material in this particular interview that we're going to have a second Thinking Cap spotlight digging into the great advice that Mike Ribero was offering. So that's coming up next. Oh, we have so much good content from Mike, and the QR code that's on your screen right now, you can scan that to get to that second Thinking Cap spotlight, or you can always go to CHEETAHdigital.com, go to the resources section under client stories, webinars, ebooks, everything. Find all kinds of content there. So thanks for watching this one. Go watch the second one.